Shukran, Habibti. Sabah al khair, assalamu alaikum. Hello, good morning, everybody. We still have a 20-minute session, and then we hopefully can all break for lunch. It's great to see you all here and get all these work and life lessons and advice at the Abu Dhabi Finance Week. Lawrence, let me first put things into a little perspective and context, because Golub Capital and you as the CEO are a market-leading, award-winning direct lender and private credit manager with some $70 billion in credit under management. My head is spinning already. And you were founded in 1994, about the year when I was born. You partner with institutional investors, family offices, and offer solutions for credit asset strategies, very complex, and trying to find solutions to companies backed by private equity sponsors. You've won a lot of industry awards recently, I was reading, such as the Lender of the Decade for the Americas or Senior Lender of the Decade for the Americas. And you also earned a Lifetime Achievement Award by the M&A Advisors, so really inducted in the Hall of Fame. You're a rock star, Lawrence, in that space. But let me first of all ask you, we've seen two major announcements from Golub Capital in the last week, which really highlight your commitment to this region. Can you explain to us what latest investments you have made in, the community building and also talent management space?
Happy to. So we've had investors in the region for about 10 years, been coming for many years, and over the past few years realized we want to have an even closer relationship with our clients and potential clients here. So we announced yesterday that we're opening an office in ADGM that will be opening in about a month.
In which floor?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Woo! Ahlan wa sahlan. We'll make sure to stop by next time.
Yes.
Well done, Mabruk.
And we also announced last week a partnership with NYU Abu Dhabi, the Golub Capital Impact Investing Education Fund, where we've made a multi-year commitment to provide funds for NYU Abu Dhabi students and incoming students at the Stern Business Program. The NYU Stern program starts also next month for MBA students, to use these funds to make impact investments, venture capital-based impact investments, to learn how to evaluate, to learn, as some of our previous panelists said, to learn how to make mistakes. We expect them to lose all the money.
You have to reinvest in that
well,
case,
I mean,
in
hopefully,
the cycle.
we plan to reinvest, but it's a learning experience, and we're very committed to business education and business principles. And we're here at Finance Week, and you describe Golub Capital accurately, but it sounded a little complicated even to me, the way you're describing it. Our business is really an operating business. It happens to use money, it happens to use financial principles, but we think it's so important, whether it's here or in the United States, to really foster the understanding and use of business principles in growing organizations. So what we've done, what we're doing with NYU Abu Dhabi, is an outgrowth of what we've been doing for more than 5 years in the United States. We have partnered 5 years ago with 3 leading business schools, Stanford, Northwestern, and the University of Chicago, to create social impact labs, to experiment with using business principles, bringing them to nonprofits, or in the case of Stanford, for example, Susan Athey, who's a leading data scientist, bringing AI, before we all knew the term AI, to Khan Academy, which is an online learning organization. And we're big believers in experimentation. We call the word learnings mistakes, but we like to be a little more positive about it. And we also are big believers in taking wins and expanding them. So at Northwestern, for example, Northwestern devised, with our help, a Board Fellows program to help train MBA students and MBA graduates how to be better members of boards of directors, including boards of directors of nonprofits or government-related organizations. And we actually started with the thinking that we would bring, so we have that Board Fellows program with 7 business schools in the United States, Northwestern, Chicago, Carnegie Mellon, NYU Stern, Yale, Wharton, and Berkeley. We started by thinking we wanted to bring that particular program to NYU Abu Dhabi. And as we talked to Dean Solomon and folks, we realized it's not ready yet. The first class of MBA students is only starting. So we're starting with this program with a view toward rolling out our Board Fellows program more fully over the next couple of years as NYU Abu Dhabi Stern is ready.
I think these 2 announcements deserve a round of applause. Well done.
Thank you.
And actually, I'm an alumni of NYU Stern Business School in New York, so maybe I should do another degree here in Abu Dhabi now. Now, you have just celebrated 30 years anniversary of Golub Capital.
Which is remarkable since you and I were both born in 1994.
Exactly. I mean, with longevity, we're getting younger and younger, right? Just have to take the right supplements. Now, what has been crucial in your overall success, would you say, over the last 3 decades now?
So, particularly in the past 15 or 20 years, I think that we've built the business based on 2 important pillars. One comes back to how I opened, which is investing is hard. We're not a hedge fund. We're a lender. Actually, making loans is easy. It's getting paid back that's hard. And
I'm sure Ray Dalio would have been interested in that.
So we decided quite some time ago we have to actually operate as a business. Yes, with a culture. Yes, with goals, but with real taking goals and forming strategies, using the strategies to develop tactics. Tactics then get implemented and assessed. That's one pillar that's been critical for us. The other pillar, which feeds right into it, is that as we evaluated what kind of business are we, I mean, we really decided we have 4 groups of critical partners, customers, however you want to think about it. And yes, there's 2 different kinds of investors. There's the private equity firms and their companies who borrow from us. But we specifically identified our team, our employees, as a 4th group of partners and customers. And we've applied the same standards of, we call it gold standard, of really trying to put yourself in the shoes of each of these 4 groups and figuring out what they want, what they need. We have 1,000 people. We have focused on having longevity, and all of these, really the business principles aren't that complicated, but once you decide our objective is to be an employer of choice, to recruit successfully, to recruit carefully, to give people growth opportunities, and to make sure we're recruiting the right kind of people and then giving them the right employee value proposition.
There's a lot of demand, Lawrence, for talent in private credit. Is it an interesting, attractive industry to look for a job? And how do you source the talent? Can you maybe share some insights in that?
You look like you were cringing when you said, is private credit attractive?
I would apply for a job in private credit.
It's not that bad.
Is it? Okay. Tell us the pitch.
So when we started in private credit, when I started our private credit strategy, approximately 0 people in the history of the world had said, you know what, I'm doing private equity, but I think private credit's smarter. Everyone wanted to be a private equity partner or hedge fund partner. But the fact is that the credit skills, the problem-solving skills, the partnership skills of being a non-bank lender are really important. We consider ourselves to be in the business of making private equity firms more successful. We consider, when I talk to our mid-level underwriters, I talk to them and say, you know, yes, your job is to make sure we don't lose money, and you need to have developed 10 years of experience and a lot of at-bats and get mentoring and make mistakes and learn. But your job isn't just to protect our investors. Your job, we're a service provider. Anybody can lend money. Your job is to think about, how do you get that junior partner you're working with, how do you get her promoted to partner? Because we'll work on and complete 80 loans a year, but she'll do 1 or 2 deals every 1 or 2 years. And it's part of this partnership mindset. So it is a challenge with 1,000 people. We have many different functions. We work hard on cross-training. We have lunch and learns every month where one of the leaders from the firm will sit down and just have an informal discussion with other folks. And there's a tension. Everyone in the firm wants to see what's going on at an investment committee. But investment committee has to function and really make decisions. So there are limitations to that. I think that we have found that one of the really critical things is training our managers to give good feedback. That transparency, not as radical as Ray. I couldn't handle that. I don't think our people could handle that. And I think that works for Bridgewater. It doesn't work for an organization like ours where we're in a service business and we have to be partners with our investors and partners. But he's absolutely right. You need to have an identified culture. And our culture is a combination of being meticulous, being open and candid, but also being smart and thinking about where are the risks and which risks are for us and not for us. So we start that process in our recruiting. We actually give testing. We have determined that most of us and most people are actually very bad at assessing a candidate based on an interview. I'm very good at assessing if somebody's likable. I'm very good at assessing if they're reasonably well prepared. I'm not very good at assessing how good a job is he or she going to do 6 months from now? How open are they to learning new things? How good are they going to be at mentoring? So we use IQ tests, personality tests, numeracy tests. And initially, this was a very challenging thing. I got a lot of pushback from our HR department. And they came, we're very data-driven. They came and said, this is horrible. A third of the people we were planning to give offers to didn't achieve high enough performance on our quantitative tests. We have to change the test. This is miserable. And I was a little worried at first. And I said, well, wait a minute. What's happening to our onboarding experience? What's happening to the 6-month check-in and the 12-month check-in? And in fact, our hit rate of people who stuck, who stayed for more than that first 18 months, had gone through the roof. So in fact, the people who weren't getting offers, I'm not saying they're bad people, they're great people. It wasn't the right fit. And we developed that further. We, in our onboarding process, have a very formalized system that leads to a 30-day and 60-day check-in, which all of senior leadership sees. I see the interview results and surveys from the new candidate, the new employee, from their bosses, and we carry this out. And we do have, it's not all roses and kisses. We do have evaluation systems.
For sure. Now, sourcing talent is one thing. Then you have the actual hiring process and then also retaining talent. And now in our fast-paced lives, how do you actually retain talent and how do you at Golub Capital invest in them?
So we have a talent development program that 90% of our senior managers and almost 100% of our employees participate in. Going back to the recruiting process, we tell people, you want to learn, you want to develop professional skills, you want to be trained, you want to be assessed, this is one of the best places in the world to work. If you don't want to learn, this might be a little hard and may not be the right place for you to go. So I mentioned the lunch and learns. We have formal talent development programs. We use LinkedIn Learning. We have, at different levels, sort of talent-appropriate schemes. David Golub, the president, has for his senior management team his own mini academy with reading lists and discussion groups. So we work very hard, and I would say that employees expect to learn, they expect to get promoted, and it's one of the hardest things is teaching managers how to give constructive feedback and how to really be honest about when somebody's not meeting expectations.
Now, what is special about this session is that we have a short moment, exactly 4 minutes for a Q&A. There is a mic in the room, so there are just 3 housekeeping rules. Please state your name and the company where you're from. 1 question only and keep it short, please. So, who would like to ask the first question? Who is looking for a job at Gulf Capital? We can do the hiring process right here. All right, there's a gentleman by the name of Bobby, but Bobby, please introduce yourself. Up there?
I think we'll go here first, there
Okay.
second.
Wow, you have a long pipeline. Okay.
Hi, Lawrence. Sorry, I'm forced to ask a question by the chairman, right? So I don't know how it will sound, but how much money do you have? Sorry, that's not the question.
I left my wallet with one of my
credit.
colleagues.
Now, could you just explain more on the talent development? Because we develop a lot of programs. I'm sorry I didn't introduce myself. My name is Mansoor from the ADGM Academy. And we look up towards those kind of programs which we can regionalize around here. So just a little bit.
So I'm a little biased. I really am. I went to a fancy business school and they teach you how to be a leader, but they don't teach you the basics, like project management, meeting hygiene. I'll talk for a minute about meeting hygiene. Our meetings start 2 minutes before the time it's called. If we have a 9 a.m. meeting and you're not there by 8:58 and the key people are there, we start. One of my most fun things ever is we also require an agenda, which people have to read in advance. About twice a year, we start a meeting at 8:58 and we end it by 9 o'clock because the agenda is light or things are obvious, and ending a meeting by the start time and then seeing who pops up on Teams or Zoom after the meeting's over is very exciting, but it teaches people respect for other people's time. If you think about starting every meeting 5 minutes late and adding that up over the course of the year, it's a disaster. But the meeting hygiene doesn't end there. It's project management. There's a scribe who's following up on what's each action item, who's responsible, and what's the timeline. And extensions are fine. Forgetting about timelines, not fine. So I really find we hire people sometimes out of other financial institutions. They have great credit skills. They know how to make a decision or make a recommendation. Sometimes they even know. They're supposed to say, here are the 3 best reasons not to do it. But so much of the basics of be on time, be specific, tell other people what you're doing is a big part of the force multiplier for us and a big part of the education, I think, that you might think about offering.
I feel you, Lawrence. I'm Swiss, and you have to be on time. Second question, last question goes to Bobby. Because we have to finish on time.
Sure, thank you very much. Just a quick question. You mentioned providing quality feedback to employees. And what I've found is that the big issue is that a lot of people can't handle constructive criticism or negative feedback. So how do you feel the best way is to deal with that? And how have you dealt with it practically?
So it's worse than that. I find the average high-performing manager is not comfortable giving negative feedback. So you can't give it and you can't receive it. Well, then how do you ever learn it? One of the things you do is you have a forced system. We use 9-block. It's not perfect. It has 2 dimensions based on the employee's potential, based on the employee's performance in that period, and you have to put the employee in one of the boxes. Now, of course, everybody's above average, but at least somebody knows they're in the middle on the 9-block, not a superstar. Or if they're a superstar, that gets reviewed higher up. Similarly, we force the managers to say, here are the good things, but here are 3 areas for improvement. They must list 3 things. And if they don't, that shows up on their 3 things.
My Swiss watch says time's up.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lawrence. Thank you, everyone.